Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Okay, I think our topic today is long in we're already projecting that, right? So do you want to get started on this custom service attributes discussion?
Yeah, so I think we can get started. Yeah, I think everyone
Yeah, I see
is here.
Kamal
Yeah,
there, Prince is here. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Um, yeah, please get started. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So today I want to discuss about this adding public custom service attribute in the SciPod.h header file. So the problem we have today is that SciPod.h and Sonic only supports 10 plus NPU service attributes. But the situation is that the total number of attributes can be way more than 10 plus for certain platform and vendors. So for example, it can be 40 plus. And besides, the number can keeps growing in the future for new platforms and new ASIC hardware. So this is one thing. Another thing is that those attributes can be vendor specific, and different platform might have different totally different attributes. And the thing is that Sonic's org agent they should not include a platform specific extension header file to contain those attributes enum. And the third thing that some key attribute can be proprietary, so which means that we cannot directly upstream those enums and attribute lamps to the SciPod.h. So instead of address this problem, so I'm proposing that adding a bunch of public, unnamed customer service attributes into the SciPod.h. So the corresponding platform and vendors, they can decide if they want to use it. And we want to also make sure that since for this service attribute, by nature, the type is always a list of integer. So we can simply assume that all the types are the same. So
Okay,
there's
can I jump here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I have so I have issues with your proposal here. Yeah. So for the first point, the total number of attributes can be varied. Yeah, that's why custom attributes are forced. So each vendor can have a specific range on attributes, and it's not restricted by other vendors to add many on the future. And this number can be, depending on the vendor and each attribute. Sorry, can you split screen to that previous?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each vendor can have, as many attributes as they want and can extend it to whatever range they want. And each attribute vendor per vendor, for example, if they have specific if they even overlap with the same enum value, they can have different type because they are vendor specific, so they are not related, between vendors. So for the second point, yes, you mentioned that those are vendor specific, different sets. And you said that the org agent should not include vendor-specific attributes. So I think that assumption is wrong because depends what we want to do. So for example, if we want to do some specific action on the device, which is vendor-specific, then we need to have a vendor-specific attribute. And if we, for example, have that is not solvable either by, it could be solved by including vendor-specific attribute. So for example, if this attribute is defined, then we can use it because we use that vendor-specific attribute. And if it's not defined, let's not use it. Because for example, if you introduce this custom attributes which have like no meaningful naming, yeah, like custom 1, custom 2, custom 3, then one vendor under custom 1, they then can have this value, and at the custom 2, and then another vendor at the same value, they may have, different ability from the device export, or maybe not implemented, or, whatever. So org agent needs to know what it needs to set from the beginning, yeah? And, if you have some kind of a way that tell, okay, for example, this is a Broadcom platform, so custom 1 attribute does this and this. So you need to figure this out in the org agent code, and then you set all the attributes to basically a string list S8 thing, yeah. So then org agent based on, okay, this is Broadcom, so I need to format this attribute to this particular string and set this attribute. But if it's Mellanox, I need to format a different string for this specific attribute and do this one, yeah. So I think that's not feasible, because you would just having one constant unclear name for the attribute, but you still need to do the work instead of including the headers. You still, and populate the specific attributes per specific platform. You still need to do that work, but outside the scope of the vendor headers. So that work needs to be put on the org agent anyway. And if you said that attributes can have preparatory for the point 3, the attributes can have a preparatory meaning, then yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and for example, even if let's say vendor 1 expose 3 attributes and 2 of them are proprietary, and on vendor 2 like all of the or public, or on vendor 3 all are proprietary, yeah. So you can still make a mistake in org agent because you don't know which one is which, unless you, as I said previously, figure out which platform you are running, and then based on this deciding on which platform is run, you decide whether, okay, I have access to those attributes, but I don't have on those attributes, yeah. So I think in this in third point, all those attributes you are proposing, those are basically a public available, yeah. So the vendor may have internal for those attributes, they may be custom, proprietary, or public, or whatever. But from org agent point of view, they are all public because they are all in the headers already. So I think it's more useful, for example, if vendor has some custom service attributes that they want, to be public, then they can expose the headers that they contain only the public attributes, and they can hide other attributes and their types and whatever. And based on that, org agent can, decide, okay, I'm like on the Broadcom platform, based on the headers include, I have access to this attributes and this, and you then have actual meaningful name for this attribute. So it's not confused that, okay, this property, was it custom 1 or was it custom 2? And it will provide a lot of confusion for all the vendors, where do they want to implement some specific action. So having actual meaningful names for the attributes, even if they are custom specific, that is more meaningful, and it will produce less confusion and less bug in the code in the long run. Yeah, and I think that's everything.
Okay, so so the main question for this is so you're saying we're going to include that vendor header file somehow in org agent, right? That is the one of the assumption, precondition.
Yeah, I believe
if
vendor will want to expose some custom attributes for their specific platform, they are welcome to do that.
So
and we don't need to actually specifically include that specific custom header, because those headers could be included in the sci.h file. Yeah, so you don't need to actually go and specifically select this or that vendor header. Yeah, we can just include the sci headers, and they should be actually by default included. Yeah, I actually made a proposal that yeah, this one. So you have custom vendor headers, yeah, and there is a common sci custom.h file. So that's supposed to, yeah, this one. So that's supposed to include all the custom vendor headers. So for example, if vendor would decide to expose those, it doesn't need to be, complete set of what vendor is implementing. Yeah, they can choose a subset that they want to go public or or whatever. Yeah. Then the standard SI attributes will just include only the standard well-defined set. And if we want to have a custom attributes, then we just include that SI custom in the org agent. And then if, each vendor will have different attribute and different name for that attribute, we can, then have that logic in the org agent to decide, based on the if defines, okay, this is for the broadcom, so we do this or do that. Yeah. I think there is no other like more elegant way to do that instead of, providing those custom like 1 to 100 attributes.
So,
But
Vali,
I think I have one doubt, right? So even if we go via this approach, which is custom header, right? So still on the org agent side, those attributes will still be visible, right? Like you are basically moving away from SI. It will not be exposed to the public in the SI repo, right? That's fine, but org agent has to still consume those proprietary attributes in org agent side, right? So, but that is public. So are you saying that the vendor should now have their own org agent?
No,
Right.
why?
Otherwise, how it is the org agent? Currently, org agent basically consumes these attributes, public attributes, right? So when the custom comes, you will do some if def, but still the things are still visible, right? These
Okay,
attributes.
so I see like confusion here. So if vendor wants to have exposed some custom attributes as public, so that's up to the vendor. But if they want to keep their custom attributes and be able to to talk to those attributes, then there is no other way than having they need to have a private build of the org agent. Because even if they will not provide those headers, let's for example, to us, and we will just introduce those custom attributes, let's say from this 1 to 100. Yeah. So each vendor will have, its own, like, let's say, hiding name attributes. Yeah. But then you still need to have a way in public org agent to specify, okay, I'm running on the Broadcom, so I'm only able to use this attribute and this one. And this attribute is doing this one or this one. And you can achieve this, I think, in 2 ways right now. Yeah. So if you have this 1 to 100 attribute, one way would be you put the code in the org agent. So as I mentioned previously, so you figure out somehow that you are working on Broadcom. So you specify that you're constructing the string for the specific attribute because you already know, like internally, we know what this attribute is doing. So we're doing this set. Or the other way would be to have just blindly, let's say we say the Broadcom, like we build Sonic normally with all those custom attributes, assuming like all of them there are supported. The second thing is, how we handle the error from those attributes, if there will be an error at all. Then, for example, if Broadcom will put some config into DB saying that custom attributes, then the org agent will just read that from the config and just, pass that. It will just act as a proxy. Yeah? So it will just pass the config through org agent to that one specific attribute. So it will be just passing that data blindly. Yeah. So in this case, you can actually, let's say, hide, what is the meaning of the attribute. But you still can probably figure out, depending on how much complicated data there is, you still probably can figure out what the actual attribute is and what it's doing. And you still need to figure out, at which platform you are outside the org agent to put the actual data into, let's say, DB config or whatever config that would be read from the org agent, and that would be passed to that specific attribute. So you either need to figure out this before you run the platform or inside the org agent, which is really like, I think it's not an elegant solution here. Does this make sense?
So, yeah, so I still didn't quite follow that. So, sorry. So you're saying, first we want to have, in this case, we want to have a private org agent for those platform. Is that one? Is that correct?
So maybe let me ask you a different question, yeah? What is the end goal here? What we want to achieve by introducing this?
So introduce this is that we want to make sure we can so have Sonic support those proprietary attributes for certain platforms. So basically, platform can just define their proprietary attribute values in this media setting.json. Then on the occasion side, they can just pass this attribute values to the site and the SDK using that public custom attribute lamp. So in this case, in this way, they don't. I mean, they don't need to. Occasion don't need to include any private header, and Sonic also doesn't expose any private attribute lamps. So this lamp is just some attribute abbreviation the platform can specify by themselves. For example, make it like a public custom one. They can use it here and give the values here. So that's the end goal. I mean, that's the end flow for this proposal. So,
I think, but you still need to put that data, yeah? So this data that you are saying, it's still public data. It will be public.
yeah, this data is fine, is public data, but the attribute lamps that is just it's like a public custom one, public custom two, something like that. So they don't know what does that attribute mean. Even if they knows the value, but they don't know what the attribute mean.
Is this like an example file? Because all of those preempts here that are just named the same. So we are saying that will be changed for the like for the actual like custom one, custom two, and so on.
Yeah. So in that case, it will change to custom one, custom two, custom one for all the yeah. So for example, for different kind of optics, this is the QSAP28 optics. They will have some different lamps, different values. Sorry, and for the QSAP28, some CR42M, that will have another set of values. So on and so forth.
You know what? Let me put it this way. I really want to avoid having like, unnamed attributes and just wasting that range. But besides that range 3, 0x3 and 7 zeros, that will be probably reserved for the optical devices, which is incoming shortly. And I would like to actually avoid having that. What about proposal that we can provide, because that data probably will be assuming that is proprietary, those will be proprietary attributes, so we will not be like touching those attributes. Just that will be just forwarded to the device. So how about this one? We have a JSON type attribute, data type. So we can, let's say, provide well-defined like attribute in this port service, yeah, like SCI port service attribute, let's say custom JSON or whatever, yeah. And in that JSON, it can be, actually JSON is the same data type as you have in the attribute. So underlying is just a list of S8 characters, yeah. but it's just it's supposed to be a JSON. It can be just a list of S8 or JSON, whatever, yeah. And
Okay.
then, when the vendor provides this, let's say proprietary configuration, they can, internally name all the parameters, whatever they want. They can name custom 1, custom 2, or A, B, C, D, whatever, yeah? And we will just take that data and just put into that specific attribute. But we will have one well-defined attributes when each vendor can, define. That will be, the enum value will be the same for each of the vendors, but the behavior will be platform specific for them. And they can interpret that data whatever they want, and they don't have to be, custom, like the naming can be like, per vendor specific, yeah. And in this way, we will have custom header, which is well defined. It doesn't define 100 different attributes, which we don't know what they actually do. So and we don't waste the space of the attributes in our enum values. Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying you want to have some JSON file that can be read at runtime, or is that has to be loaded at the compiler time? Because you're saying
It doesn't matter at which time it will be loaded, because it needs to you need to it doesn't need to be JSON. It can be whatever string you want, because you already defined that all those attributes are strings. Yeah. So whatever string is in that data, we can Orc agents needs to read it at some point from whatever place. I don't care which place or how it is stored, where it is stored, and how it's uploaded. I'm just saying that let's have one attribute that will populate this data. And for example, if you have like let's say vendor have 5 different attributes, yeah, from this 100. So we put those 100 attributes into that one specific config, whether it will be JSON or a string or whatever the vendor have the format. We will just read that config at whatever the time is right for the orc agent, and we push to that single attribute that will set all those 5 values that we need to set.
Can sorry, can you just, for example, can you share your you write it down in some file and share it right now? For example, write down the example.
I think it's already on the something similar. It's already in the headers in the site. Let me just find that.
Yeah, that would be helpful if you have some example. Yeah.
Just give me a second here. I'm looking through GitHub, so it will just take me some time, I think. Okay. Okay, so it was actually not used in the attribute, but in the notification. Okay, but let me give you a link on the chat. What is that?
Kamil, one thing that we need to be aware is like these attributes, even though they are stored in static JSON file or whatever file, right? Those are like maybe 10 or 40, whatever is there. But which value to consume at what time, that should still be dynamic. I don't know how we are going to do that. It doesn't mean that orc agent will consume all those attributes in one shot. It could be bunch of attributes which could be consumed at different time based upon like what optics is plugged in. You
Mm.
could swap the optics also, so it should happen dynamically.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. So you can still, if you scroll up a little bit here, yeah. So that is actually used like a the same line but just couple lines. Yeah, here. So for example, yeah, in the description you just have a JSON string. Yeah, I'm just using JSON. It doesn't have to be JSON. Yeah, it can be whatever configuration file. It can be .ini or whatever. Yeah, it can be whatever. And that data can be on the single attribute. And let's say, for example, that you want to set just custom one attribute on the platform specific on the Broadcom. Yeah. So, for example, in this case, let's say in the switch ID, you just specify, like, instead of switch ID, you specify like custom one. So that will be the custom one value, and the value will be the value you want to set, and the vendor will internally pick that up. And you can specify, let's say you can specify 10 values, 100 values, whatever you want, or you can specify just one value. But you will have a single attribute to control that specific value. And each vendor will use the same attribute. Does it make sense?
Oh, sorry. So you're saying basically, you pass, for example, some JSON file. You will pass this JSON file location to the SAI SDK from
No.
occasion.
You just
Not
encode that to the list S8.
okay. So, so you just pass the JSON encoded string to the SAI SDK or something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm just using JSON because everybody knows what JSON is, but it can be any other format. It can be just binary format, whatever the vendor wants.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it's, for example, it can be whatever serialized some
Yes.
string to
Yeah.
SAI SDK. Then, but we need to define this site attribute. For example, we want to define. So you are proposing to add a new similar attribute to this one.
No, I think let me share a screen because I think I made a more confusion than I actually wanted. So let me share a screen and let me encode wait, come on. What is share screen here? I don't see how I can share the screen. Oh, share. Okay. Sama, can you stop sharing because I cannot share when you are sharing.
Sure. Let me stop.
Okay. Okay. So we here have like those port service that here, I think, this one. Yeah. So let's do something like here. Port service attribute custom interface, etc. Yeah. And that will be like something like that. And the internal create that. And now, if, for example, yeah, if let's say vendor has 3 attributes, custom 1, 2, custom 3. Yeah, those names can be just arbitrary. Yeah. Then let's say we create JSON or ini or vendor format, yeah, and we specify like custom 1 value 1 etc. Yeah, and then we can do like this. STD, let's say 3.1. Yeah, and we just do like try attribute T A B equal this one. And just call for this API for set and this will set to a custom one attribute. Yeah, and you can do this at at any time. Yeah, later on, for example, if you want to create like set two of those attributes. Yeah, let's say we will set like value 2 or value 2. Yeah, and we can do the same here. And this will set custom custom here. So basically, you will have like like dynamic interface to the vendor, which you can set anytime any attribute. But we will have only like one defined attribute here for all the vendors, instead of having a lot of custom attributes defined. This would be my proposal if you still want to have like ability to set each attribute at different time.
Okay, so you're using one side attribute to include all the custom attributes.
Yeah.
And the thing is that what would be the type in this case? It would be like a
The type will be
dictionary.
The type will be S32 list as any of your attributes, because you defined all your attributes at the same type anyway. So it will be still the same type. Because what you define, the vendor will still need to decode that. They expect this format, and this format can be, whatever. And this can be, like string, int, like bool, whatever. Yeah, it's JSON. I mean, I'll give you an example, JSON. It doesn't have to be JSON. It can be just binary. It can be just, any format you want. Depends on the vendor. That's what means like vendor specific, yeah, or vendor custom attribute.
So in this case, then the type is not actually a list of. I mean, here you put it as the S32 underscore list, right? But it doesn't always be the case, right? In this case, it's it's actually a key value pair. You pass it to the side, in that because the S2, that is actually a key value pair, right? And here is S1 and S2, and here, because you define the type here as S32 list, that is actually a different type. Will the metadata validation fail? Because if you don't, because we will. Hello.
Yeah.
So we want to because will the metadata validation fail in this case? Because it will, whenever we send the side code, it will validate the type of the attribute, whether it matches the the defined type in the header file.
Metadata doesn't check S32 list. Like it doesn't validate any data what is in that list because it doesn't know what is in that list. But the metadata
Okay.
only checks whether the pointer of the list is not null and whether the count is 0 or not. So you can,
Okay.
the content of the list is of each attribute on the list is not checked because we don't know what is in that list.
Oh, okay. So you're saying the type of the list, I mean, the type of each element in the list is not checked. So you can send whatever list to the side in this case. Are you saying that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there is no way, there is no way to check, unless, for example, we have, let's say, attributes that are uint 16, and that is and they are marked as a VLAN. Then we can actually check whether the VLAN number passed to the attribute is actual correct number. But those are like very specific attributes. List are just checks whether they are not null or whether the count is valid for them.
Okay, so you're saying that.
So Kamil, if we follow this approach, then that means that if every time we have a new requirement for the number of custom values we want to send, we will have to create those many attributes, right? So like one list will contain, or for every combination, basically, like every combination of custom attributes.
You have two choices. You either do this, because I'm assuming vendor is providing those attributes, yeah, because we don't know what is inside them. Maybe they are, hacking to NASA or whatever. We don't know what those attributes are, yeah. So you either put them in the config, which will be like public available, like because there will be name like here, like custom 1, custom 2, whatever whatever this config should not be easily determined by regular user. So you can do that and put this in the config, or you can put this, if you have 100 attributes like defined like proposal in this PR, then you need to put that in the org agent anyway, because maybe one time you want to push one attribute and maybe second time you want to push 5 attributes, as you said.
Yeah. Okay. Only thing is like org agent will have to do some parsing of this, right? Okay.
No, it doesn't need to do parsing. It can blindly just pass the data to the vendor.
Okay. And it will be done by the, okay, got it. Yeah. The site itself, the vendor specific site will do that.
So from which vendor actually this idea for those custom attributes originated? Who proposed that?
You mean the custom range start?
No, I mean this PR which we have here.
This is, I think, from login is from Cisco.
Okay.
Yes,
So maybe we can have like a discussion also with them, what they think about this proposal, or
yeah, so for this proposal, you're suggesting to have another discussion or continue, or you want to?
I mean, from my point of view, we should avoid to have, arbitrary attributes in the side headers. I mean, that would be my goal, yeah. We can like define this communication as I proposed here. It can be, I named this custom interface, but it can be name whatever we agree on, yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
So I think this one single attribute will basically be like a key value pair of multiple SerDes attribute, right? And that will go as a string for the org agent, and basically your SDK will parse those and make sense out of that value.
Yeah. So owning SDK knows that what
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
value is for.
Yes. Yes.
And we can, for example, having those media setting.json file have to contain those values and key value pairs, and occasion
You know,
transfer D basically notify occasion, and
yeah,
occasion can
I'm just
send this one.
proposing
Yeah.
JSON key, but it doesn't need to be JSON. It can be just like, let's say, like a string, like foo equals bar, yeah, something like that, like the old ini type, yeah. Doesn't matter. We can agree with vendors, you know, what is the like what will be the format that is the easiest to parse for them. Yeah. That's why I'm proposing to have another
Parser
link.
is not a problem, right? We already have open source parsers for these JSON files and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, parser is not a problem, and it's basically occasion doesn't need to do any parser, and it's only the SDK side they need to do that.
But I think the
This,
transceiver needs to do something, right? Because now it's not a I mean, the JSON file will specify this new attribute, but it needs to collate all those values, right? I mean, which it can do it. I mean, yeah.
you're saying somehow.
So basically, like in this stream of data, you need to define the format, right? For example, like when does your first attribute start, and what is the value for each lane, right? That format should be standard, right? Otherwise, this is bunch of stream coming to the SDK, but you don't know where is the value starting for the attribute and where is the value for lane one, lane two, things like that, right? That needs to be defined, right?
I
Otherwise,
think
it is just
I think that was the point, that this is vendor custom attributes, so the format can be whatever vendor wants to be. I think that was the point.
Yeah, and the vendor can define their own format. We can also suggest one common format because it will always be a list of key value pairs. We can define some common format. Each vendor can also follow that. The only thing is the name of the attribute and the value of the attribute. The vendor can decide by themselves. That's one option. So, and Camille, I think you're because you think that we should not have a bunch of those unnamed attribute. I mean, it's not good to have that. So that's your whole point, right? So because of that, it's better to have some single attribute containing them all instead of wasting a lot of range. And also,
even if we would agree on those, to having, you know, those unnamed attributes, just the numbers, they should not be in like a custom range. They should be just in the range as a normal attribute. You know, they are defined. Yeah, they just be like vendor specific. And I'm actually not like, I don't like actually this idea. I'm not sure, you know, why. That's why we created you know, custom range, so the proprietary attributes can be you know, can be used by the vendors and like internally, and they can actually deal with that, you know, how whatever they want to do. Because I'm not sure, you know, what is the actual point if you know, since, for example, in the Broadcom, yeah, we have platform specific configs, yeah, like for this device, we have a configuration file with the with how many lanes, for example, there are, and how internal chip is configured, and those are like really Broadcom specific files which are used by the SI library internal to initialize the ASIC when we do initialization. And those are like platform specific and vendor specific, yeah. So I'm not sure what is the purpose to have, you know, custom attributes in in Sony when we change those attributes dynamically during runtime, like which we don't know what those attributes are doing. What would be the purpose of that?
So, I think your suggestion looks good. That having one attribute to containing all the vendor specific and proprietary attribute to use one, that looks good, and I think
Yeah,
it
but
will.
I still don't understand the reason behind, that why we would want to have our proprietary attributes set during our runtime in our, in our environment.
So runtime meaning that why would you say that it's setting at runtime? Because if we have the
Prince George mentioned that we can have multiple custom attributes and they can be set at different time. Let's say this attribute at time and the time.
you might.
So I'm assuming that's on the runtime.
So for each vendor, for each platform and each vendor, the meaning for each of the custom attributes that is fixed. So only the values that can be different at different time. So for example, which custom one, attribute custom one, attribute custom two. So what does it mean? That is fixed for each vendor. So it's not dynamically decided.
Yes, but what I understood from Prince that we ran Sonic, let's say for Cisco, yeah, and that and at the beginning we said attribute custom one, and then after 5 minutes we said attribute custom two to some values. This was what I understood.
So
yeah. I mean, login, once it becomes a bunch of string, right? The interpretation is left to the consumer, right?
yeah,
So it's
interpretation is left to the consumer.
basically like you can change the meaning if you want in a new SI, because the way, let's say in 14.1 you are making sense of custom one as something, in SI 16.1 you could make that same value to be interpreted differently. It's up to you. It gives you all the flexibility.
Yes, I think that is
Yeah.
that is that is the problem with those custom attributes that we want to actually avoid that, yeah, because we don't want to have changing the type and meaning of the attribute between versions, yeah. We agreed that we have for SI we are backward compatible to not have deal with those issues.
So the type will not change. It will always be a list of integer. And if your concern is more about the type compatibility, that will not be a problem, because service attribute value is always a list of integer.
No, as I said, I'm not concerned about the time. I'm concerned that we have, a bunch of
okay.
a bunch of unnamed attributes in a public interface. That is my concern.
Okay, so you don't like that basically a different version of site. You want to have some fixed one mapping for this custom attribute also. That is the.
I don't understand what do you mean by one-to-one mapping?
Because you're saying you don't want to change the meaning of the. You don't prefer the change of the meaning of each custom attribute. Is that what you concern, or? Because
Yeah,
if type is not your.
Yeah, you can. I guess you can say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to basically for each of the custom value, you want the meaning to be, to be fixed.
Yeah.
Across different site version.
Yeah, because that's how all the attributes are right now. Yeah. And we did that, and we did introduce this custom range, so the vendors internally can have the custom attributes, and they don't need to then follow the, the SCI, public SCI rules. Yeah, they can do whatever they want.
Okay. Yeah. I got it. So, and besides, so I'm curious how the Broadcom is using that customer range today. So because they're also using, because you're saying the PR you shared, that is because Broadcom is asking for that, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
are they having a separate, org agent, private org agent? Because if they want to use that approach, they need to include the header file in their org agent, right? Include the customer header file in their org agent.
That I'm actually not aware of, if they have that. I think I know that because we have access to their SDK, like the SCI SDK implementation, and they also build like metadata, because and I think internally that they are using those custom attributes, like internally in the SDK, but I'm not sure if they have like any external like
Long if that
private.
was the case, you would see those custom values in port org agent, right? So their implementation could be totally different, right? How they are consuming that, and yeah.
How they are
Basically, the SCI that is being published publicly is used in different ways. Like it's not just by Sonic, right?
Okay, it's not just by Sonic, but in that case, if they are also using Sonic, assuming Sonic is one of the operating system they are supporting, right? If they are using Sonic, then Sonic org agent, somehow they need to include those customer header files, right?
I mean that that change was introduced because there was a problem because they actually implemented their own internal attributes right after the existing attributes. So after not in the custom range, but after the actual end of the port, it was port or some other attribute range. And they have those attributes implemented, but we are, when we are to be backward compatible,
Sorry,
yeah. For example, we use newer headers in our Sonic build, then they provide SCI lib headers they build against. So, for example, if we added some new attributes in the headers, then we do query of those attributes. So we actually query their private attributes, the custom attributes, which we have no idea because they didn't follow the standard. And they want to have those attributes public, so I made it. They have the ones to have those attributes private, so I made this change so they can build, their private attributes internally in the custom directory in the SCI repo. So they can still have private attributes, but they don't need to share this,
So there is this SCI meeting. This is the first time SCI meeting. This is the first time I'm attending. Oh, okay. 8 a.m. Thursdays. It's really good. There are only 5 guys. It's calming. Like they're all discussing.
So Ishwaran, hi Ishwaran.
You should attend this.
Could you please
I
mute
didn't know
yourself?
what they will discuss. It's the first time I'm attending. Okay. And half of it I'm not understanding. Okay. But it's like very interactive. It's only 5 guys. Like it's Scope Marvel. It's a small group. Yeah. So it's not like I think it's in the
Hi,
when you find
Ishwaran?
out how I got the calendar invite.
Ivan, can you mute?
Ishwaran, could you please mute? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. I think. Go ahead, Kamal. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I think I explained myself. So is that clear? Why was this change made?
Yeah, it's kind of clear, yeah. And yeah, I think thanks for that. Yeah, and Prince. So I think we can think of that. Think of more on that proposal.
Yeah.
Camille suggested, right? That looks good to you, right? Also.
Yeah,
it
I'm
looks-
fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Camille, for all the explanation and that suggestion for having one attribute to containing all the,
Yeah,
and
sure.
that really helps. And yeah, also thanks, Prince, and thanks everyone. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I pushed that proposal on the DASI PR in the comment.
Okay, let me see. Site PR. Oh, so you added that there. Okay, I will check that one.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Longin.
Yeah, thank
Anything
you,
else
everyone.
anybody wanted to bring up?
Yeah.
If not, yeah, we're done. Thank you. Thanks all for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
all.
thank you all. Bye.
Yeah, bye.